He's chairman of the 60 Plus Association, which has been increasingly called one of the top lobbying groups in the United States right now, certainly here in the district. And it's the conservative alternative to the AARP. He popularized the term death tax for estate tax, so they don't like that, I tell you. And one reporter called Martin's rhetoric politically brilliant as he made the tax scheme especially cruel. He's a Marine Corps veteran, still plays basketball, softball. He and his wife, Mary Lou, have 7 children, and how many grandchildren?
15 or 16. There's another one due shortly. 15.
Well, that's wonderful. So, Jim is representing that area, that demographic that is almost immediately impacted by Obamacare, and he knows how to activate them, and I turn it over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you to Grace Marie at the Galen Institute and Dr. Goodman, the National Center for Policy Analysis. They know this stuff inside out. I've been following their lead. I activate our seniors out there because they're the ones back in 2009. I don't know if there are any seniors in the house. There may be a few. If you are, I'm still recruiting. But back in 2009, remember, those seniors they already knew what was in that bill, although nobody else had apparently read it. Let me give you a thumbnail sketch, though, of the difference between 60 Plus Association and the AARP, as Tom just mentioned. I often get accused of being with the AARP, so I had to have a bumper sticker made up. Just so you know there's no confusion. They call it the AARP, the Association Against Retired Persons. Because quite frankly, another difference, look, they're in it, they're a Fortune 500 insurance conglomerate. We're selling nothing but less taxes, lower government, and adherence to the Constitution of the United States. One other difference is they tout a fellow named Harry Belafonte. Now look, he's a great entertainer, but he likes to hobnob with Ahmadinejad and folks of that ilk. While our spokesman, again, is Pat Boone, who likes to tout his friendship with Ronald Reagan. And the other major difference is while the AARP has been touting Obamacare because they're in it for the bucks, we seniors know that, as John has pointed out, we're going to be in those long lines, as Grace Marie often points out. Rationing is around the corner, and guess who will be standing those long? Us seniors. So I decided to go out after hearing in 2009 the abomination of this particular bill. And one person stood up and said, you know, these seniors out there, it's almost un-American, the way they're attacking members of Congress in these town hall meetings. And I looked out there, and those men and women, those seniors, I guarantee you, have served in one branch or another of our armed forces. That's right. And to defend the right to be able to call them un-American. And I don't want to name her, but her initials are Nancy Pelosi. She's the one that did that, and we said, let's go out and straighten the record. So I've gone around the country with the 60 Plus staff, setting the record straight on Obamacare. We've run ads, we've done, look, the Supreme Court, you know, we often, on a Supreme Court ruling, we hope that they'll overturn a bad decision. Like, remember McCain-Feingold on First Amendment? It didn't happen. So we can't put all of our eggs in one basket that they'll overturn this. But I'm telling you now, be vigilant, get out there. As they pointed out, we've got the grassroots troops. I'm going to play 2 ads, one from 2010, where we, and this is just an example of the ad that we did, we ran them all over the country in districts and in the states. If we could play that first ad, it's about a fellow, before you do play it, he was 90 years old yesterday. He landed on Normandy in 1945. He's up in New England. He's the grandfather of our president at 60 Plus, Amy Frederick. If you could play that ad, please.
June 1944, D-Day. Allied troops land at Normandy. Their mission, save the world from a deadly and growing oppression.
I was one of thousands who landed on D-Day. We fought to protect something we all hold very dear, our freedoms. Today our freedoms are threatened by a very different kind of enemy. The enemy is big government, wasteful spending, and crushing debt. Nowhere is this threat more apparent than in the attempted government takeover of health care. The first step has been taken. If we don't repeal the health care bill, government will grow, debt will explode, choices will become fewer, and your freedoms will be chipped away. I still believe our freedoms are worth fighting for. The fight to repeal a government takeover of health care is up to you.
You know, what we started doing back in the 2010 campaign, we started predicting that there was I started calling it a senior citizen tsunami was headed toward Capitol Hill. And if they weren't careful, there'd be a lot of folks looking for a new line of work. Come November of that year, over 60 Democrats had to update their resume. And I say Democrats because they're the only ones that voted for Obamacare, and they got, I guess, what was coming to them. That same tsunami is still out there for the 2012 elections, some Senate races, but one other ad I'm going to run. Grace, Marie, and John have talked about the hundreds of pages of regulations and all these other things. There's an outfit, we call it shorthand IPAB, the Independent Payment Advisory Board. And we're going to play an ad now that's state-specific, the state of Ohio. If you don't mind playing that, our spokesman, Pat Boone, has a message about the Independent Payment Advisory Board.
Hi, friend, I'm Pat Boone. Last year, a lot of promises were made regarding health care reform. But America's seniors knew forcing a bill through Congress when Americans overwhelmingly opposed it would be disastrous, and we were right.
President Obama's health care law cuts $500 billion from Medicare and creates a board of 15 unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats. It's like a Medicare IRS with the power to cut Medicare in order to pay for new government programs.
This IPAB board can ration care and deny certain Medicare treatments, so Washington can fund more wasteful spending. Your choices could be limited, and you may not be able to keep your own doctor. Medicare will be bankrupt in 9 years, but Washington politicians like Sherrod Brown are ignoring the problem, putting their own re-elections first. Call Senator Brown, urge him to support real Medicare reform and protect our seniors. Tell him unaccountable bureaucrats should never have the power to deny you the care you deserve.
I'll end on that note just saying this, reiterating that Obamacare cut $500 billion out of Medicare. They added 31 million new customers. I don't need a computer, I need a pencil. I can figure all that out. You add 31 million folks and take out $500 billion, there's one thing on the horizon called rationing. And we seniors will be on those long lines first. So we are going to repeal, thanks to you folks out there. The grassroots are there. We've got a little over 7 million seniors nationally in all the states. They were fired up back in 2010. They're still fired up. I got to tell you this, if you don't mind me saying this. Someone asked me recently, Jim, how do you're going to keep your seniors fired up for the campaign? I said, Congressman, I don't have to keep them fired up, just have to keep them alive between now and election. We'll be there.
Well, thank you, Jim, for attack. They're using Obamacare to attack our other liberties that I don't think anyone really foresaw, the way that we see now the attack on the church. Are the people on top of it, and will the politicians follow this time?
Well, they better. The seniors.
I mean, your group, yeah.
And the fact is, as Grace Maria said and Dr. Goodman, if we aren't vigilant, diligent, and stand on, and the folks out there, not us here back in Washington, but folks all over the country, the Tea Party folks, and my older folks, I never say old, just older, we older Americans, because there's no question there's an attack on all of our liberties, like Mr. Storer, 90 years old now. I fought for our freedoms, our liberty, and they're under attack now, under assault. By the way, I got to tell you, the making of that ad, I've seen a lot of ads made in my 50 years in this. By the way, I've been to 39 CPACs. Someone said, Jim, you're 30, this is the 39th one, how many have you been to? I said, well, I've been to all of them. I'm getting the hang of this thing. I may not come next year. But I got to say this, so that Mr. Storer, when we were making that tape. Even the cameraman, and they're veterans at this, they had to stop a couple. They got very emotional when he was making that, this World War II veteran. We had to stop the cameras and start over a couple of times. On this breast cancer drug, Avastin, we were tipped off last summer about it, and we started speaking out against it and getting seniors to make calls to the FDA, etc. And interestingly enough, the Obama administration then delayed their decision till December, this was 2010, till December, conveniently enough about a month after the election, as if they needed further review. We knew what was coming. Of course, after the election, they went ahead and banned this drug. And it was based on one thing and one thing alone, cost and cost alone.
Grace Marie, John, Jim, thank you. Must defeat ObamaCare. Let it be enforced. Every legislation, but we must do it. Our health and freedom depend on it. Thank you very much. It's fair.